What is up, Los Angeles, and welcome back to your Rams LAFB show. I am your host, Ryan Anderson. Very special guest joining me today, Chiefs beat writer from The Athletic, Jesse Newell. How we doing, Jesse?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing great. I mean, this is such an exciting show for me because I just really wanted to talk a bit more about Trent McDuffie and Jaylen Watson. Obviously, the two big off-season signings for the Los Angeles Rams. It was their big hole last year that everybody was crying for help for. Les Snead was saying, we're going to attack this position. They attacked the position, picking up two former Chiefs. And I just wanted to get Jesse's opinion on these two guys schematically. Obviously the Steve Spagnuolo defense is one of the most talked about, one of the highest, not always seen as the best defenses out there, but often seen as some of the most innovative defenses is what I'm trying to get at. But also from a locker room perspective, what are these guys bringing into the Rams locker room? We've heard so many, anecdotes about these guys over the years. So I just wanted to get it from Jesse himself, who has been in the locker room studying this team day in, day out. And the Chiefs have this special ability to really lock in cornerbacks. It seems like they had Travarius Ward as an undrafted free agent. He goes out to San Francisco. He gets paid. L'Jarius Sneed was a mid-round guy, third round, I think, goes to Tennessee and gets paid there as well. So a couple more guys join that. Seventh rounder, Jaylen Watson as well. So really impressive track record. So just, what was your reaction and thinking when you heard the news about these two specific moves for the Rams?
Yeah, let's start with McDuffie. It's funny. I was actually at the Combine, and we meet up with all our athletic brethren there. And I was having a beer at the kind of the main Combine hangout with Nate Atkins, the Rams beat writer for the Athletic. And we were talking about the next mock draft that was coming out. And we said, you know what we're going to do? Let's make a trade. This makes sense. Like the number 29 pick for Trent McDuffie. Like this makes sense for both sides. It makes too much sense in the world. And, a week later, we're messaging each other going, should we pre-write this? This sure seems like it's going to happen with some of, Les Snead's comments about how they want to, can you acquire a Pro Bowl corner? Can you get one? And obviously, the thing potentially keeping the Rams from making or winning the Super Bowl last year was that secondary. So this made sense for a while, and it made sense for the Chiefs. I actually wrote in this offseason for The Athletic in January. We were asked, me, the Bengals, and the Ravens, how to get teams back to their Super Bowl windows or open up their Super Bowl windows again. And my basic one premise was to trade Trent McDuffie. It's kind of the reverse, or actually the same, of what the Chiefs did a few years back with Tyreek Hill. They had a disappointing game in the AFC Championship game. They lost to the Bengals. They needed to reset that offseason. They traded Tyreek Hill, got all these draft picks, and then, as you saw, they hit on him like Trent McDuffie. So I will say this about Trent, how impressive he is. The Chiefs have they've taken one cornerback in the top 2 rounds of the draft in the last 10 years, and that's Trent McDuffie, and they traded up to do it. And he is so impressive in so many regards. Like on the field, has been great, is reliable, is a leader on there. I have a clip posted on Twitter from last year where the Chiefs had a blitz going, and one of the Chiefs safeties was in the wrong spot. And so McDuffie is waving his arms up in the air saying, hey, get back over here, Jaden Hicks, because I talked to him in the locker room. I said, what were you yelling? What were you screaming? He goes, well, I figured out that if Jayden didn't come back over to me, I was going to play cover 2, which meant I was going to cover 2 receivers by myself in man coverage. But that's the sort of player that you're getting if you're the Rams. Not only a guy that knows his own position, but a guy that knows every position out there and can help get guys situated correctly. I love talking to Trent in the locker room. He's a super intelligent guy. He talked about how he likes to get up in the morning, get his coffee, watch film. I mean, he is a film junkie sort of thing. So everything you could want on the field, off the field. And for the Rams, I think what is good about this trade is you don't have to wonder, like, what were the Chiefs thinking? Like, why would they want to get rid of this guy? They didn't want to get rid of this guy. They love this guy. It's just they really haven't paid up for corners, and they sort of have this magic with Steve Spagnuolo to bring these guys in, and also defensive backs coach Dave Merritt to bring lesser heralded guys in there and still get them to develop as 3rd-round picks, 7th-round picks, 5th-round picks, that sort of thing. So they love Trent McDuffie here. It's just a matter of getting the resources back and not wanting to pay him potentially the $30 million at the top of the market that the Rams were able to do. And then Jaylen Watson has just been a steady force for them. I still remember he was not expected to be back in the playoffs a couple years ago with a very serious leg injury, and he beat all timelines and made it back for the playoffs. He's a tough guy. He's physical on the outside, and one of only 2 cornerbacks, I think, last year if I remember right, from Pro Football Focus that played 80% of their team snaps that did not give up a touchdown. So you basically just set him and forget him on the outside. And both these guys really willing tacklers too in the run game. So they did a lot for the Chiefs, and obviously the Chiefs got a lot out of them, and they will benefit the Rams quite a bit, especially for a defense. I know that on the back end of the secondary could use some help there, could use some reinforcements, but especially with McDuffie, you're also getting a leader as well.
Yeah, very cool. I think, one of the things I was looking into with Steve Spagnuolo specifically was the variety of coverages he plays. I mean, they're all under 20% from, cover one, cover two, cover three, cover four, I think, are all their top coverages, but rotating those very significantly, as opposed to what Shula was doing last year, with basically running zone coverages about 50%, over 50% of the time, your cover twos and your cover threes there. And then just really, they struggled in man, mostly because of the talent that was on the roster. And these guys definitely boost that level, but just, we've seen other guys leave, let's say L'Jarius Sneed leave and not really hit the heights. Is there a concern at all out there that moving from Spagnuolo's system out to that system into the Shula system, is that a concern at all for these two guys? I mean, it is interesting that they went with the tandem, kind of like what they did with Verse and Fiske out of the draft a couple of years ago. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, I guess there could be slight, just because you said that the history of guys leaving Kansas City, usually they're better in Kansas City than they are in their next places. Now, I think part of that you have to kind of chalk up to cornerbacks as a whole. Sometimes they are more inconsistent than other positions, and they have a tendency to fall off quicker. I think what you can take hope in, especially with McDuffie, is he's 25 years old still. Brett Veach, the Chiefs GM, loves to draft younger guys, and that's what you're getting on this, like a second contract guy, or he would have been fifth-year option with the Chiefs this year. It's still at 25 years old. I mean, you should still anticipate that Trent McDuffie is just hitting his peak years. I believe Watson's either 27 or 28, so a little bit older for him as a prospect. But as I said before, I would have fewer concerns about McDuffie, just because, I mean, there's nobody in Kansas City that doesn't think he's the real deal. He is the real deal, and he's the real deal on the field. He's the real deal off the field. He'll be in charity events. He'll be in commercials. I mean, he is just he's going to be on posters out there. Like, he is a face of the program type, and has done everything for Kansas City. And like I said, he'll be that in the locker room as well with media types. He'll answer questions then, and he'll be there for his teammates to potentially lead them as well and be able to get them in the right positions, as I talked about. So less concerns there. Again, with Watson, to me, the thing about McDuffie, and going back to the Super Bowl against the 49ers, I remember talking to him in training camp the next year. If you go back, I want you guys to go back and watch the blitz. He saved the game for the Chiefs and sent the game to overtime because he connected on a blitz on a third down, where if the 49ers get the first down, they could milk the clock, kick a field goal, and win the Super Bowl at the end of regulation. And if you go back and watch Brock Purdy, the play clock's going down 10, 9, 8, 7. And right as it looks like he's about to snap it, Trent McDuffie backs up. And you're like, what's he doing? Because he's going to blitz on this play. He backs up. And then right as Purdy turns his head to the right and the play clock goes down 4-3-2, there goes McDuffie like shot out of a cannon. He jumps up, deflects the pass. 49ers get a field goal. The Chiefs answer with their own field goal, end up winning in overtime. And I asked him, I was like, how did you know? How were you? He's looking at you. Why are you backing up in this scenario? And he said, hey, study. Dave Merritt, my cornerbacks coach, said he doesn't snap it early. I saw earlier in the Super Bowl, he didn't snap it early in the play clock, and I trusted my instincts. I trusted the coaching there. And again, this is Trent McDuffie to a T. Like, he's a step ahead. He's always a step ahead of what's going on here. And again, saves the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. It's a longer point to say he has inside-outside versatility. He could play inside. He can rotate to the outside. I'm not sure how much the Rams are going to rotate there, but he definitely has the ability to do that. And his blitzing has been great when they were able to do it. How that plays into Jaylen Watson is that to sign Jaylen Watson, if you're the Rams, he is just, because McDuffie can go inside, outside, Watson's just outside and just forget about him. Like, he's just got that portion covered. So I think they complement each other pretty well in that regard. And if I were the Rams, I would look to rotate McDuffie around to make use of all the skill sets that he have, all the diversity of play that he does, and potentially his blitzing as well. But I think that's why the tandem sort of makes sense to me, because, reading sort of outside looking in, the Rams' needs, outside corner was definitely one of those. And Trent McDuffie is a good outside corner. Now, is he perfect against the A.J. Brown types who can go over the top of him? He'll be there in coverage, but sometimes receivers can go over the top of him and get him. He'll still be there. It's tough for him. He doesn't have the ideal length. That's the one really negative you would say against him. But I do think that Jaylen Watson being in tandem with him there would potentially up his skills, Trent McDuffie, that is, to be able to use him inside, outside, rotate, do all those sorts of things. And potentially those guys play better together, which is the reason you saw the Chiefs have so much success here over the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think the Rams will move him around a lot because they have this piece, Quentin Lake, who is also very versatile as a nickel defender and also as a safety. So that's going to be something interesting and something I actually wanted to talk about in terms of the locker room dynamics and what how that will kind of look. But also, there was this there's this I guess sense that he is a better nickel corner. McDuffie, that is a better nickel corner than he is an outside player. And I kind of dove into like some deeper stats, and it kind of looks like he's pretty good. He's pretty good at both, maybe an edge towards the nickel. Is there a big disparity, or is he just pretty much a guy that you can move inside in?
I would say less. So he's a good outside corner, and he will stick with you. I mean, his ability to stick with players is unbelievable. And again, that goes back to his film study, that goes back to his instincts, that goes back to his ability to move. It's just you get more versatility on the inside. Again, he can blitz off the slot. And I remember another game, I believe it was the Buffalo game in the AFC Championship game a year ago, when I talked to him, and they called a certain blitz, and it was supposed to go to whichever corner was on a certain side. And McDuffie basically kicked the other guy to the other side and said, "No, I'm blitzing. I'm taking this one," that sort of thing. And so he just has. It's more like a chess piece there. Like he's great at blitzing. He's great at playing slot corners. Maybe his lack of length plays a little bit less there in the nickel. Like I said, if you go back to some of his tape, you saw maybe from like the Cowboys game this past year, from a couple of the Super Bowls, honestly, when other bigger receivers went up against him and he wasn't able to bat balls away, and basically guys with size could take advantage. I think those are the things you're looking at with McDuffie, but that doesn't mean he's not a good outside corner. It just means there's more versatility there when you move him inside, and there's more potential to do more with him, where he's shown himself to be a great blitzer and do things very well on the inside, compared to the outside, where, again, that's probably more where Watson is just sort of like, Watson doesn't have the blitzing stuff. He doesn't have all that other stuff with him. It's just to fully utilize and maximize Trent McDuffie, you probably want to shove him inside here at least a little bit.
Before we move on, we got to shout out FanDuel Sportsbook, Rams LAFB, brought to you by FanDuel. We've got March Madness. Both Sweet 16s are set. We've got a big Iowa-Nebraska matchup, a football matchup in the Sweet 16. You got to love to see that. And those Iowa Hawkeyes did knock off the number 1 seed, so keep an eye out for that one. The Cornhuskers are currently favored in that one, minus 1.5. So that's kind of a hot one to keep an eye out. But both men's and women's, UCLA still in it for the women's, still one of the top teams favored to win the whole thing for the LA area. So go over to FanDuel Sportsbook and check out everything they got. Baseball's right around the corner too, guys. It's happening soon. The Dodgers are favored to three-peat. Exciting stuff happening down here in the Southland. Anyhow, let's hop into the locker room and just talk about what he brings there, because obviously there's going to be tons of versatility in the back end. I brought it up with Quentin Lake. Now, I mentioned specifically Quentin Lake because he is a team captain here. He is a veteran on this team. He has been extended, one of the first safeties to be extended by this Rams team in a long, long time. So obviously a force there, but joining with McDuffie for the long term, and Watson as well. I mean, how is it all going to work in the locker room in terms of, who's the loudest voice, who's going to be the de facto leader? Are we looking at McDuffie just taking over as the dude?
He should. Now, I will say this about Trent. Trent is more of a lead by example guy. He's not as much of a rah guy. I mean, the Chiefs have guys in the past like Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, just naturally, I'm going to be in the huddle. I'm going to give the pregame speech. Like that's not McDuffie's personality. But McDuffie's personality is, I know where you're supposed to be. I know how to communicate with you. I know how the standard is supposed to be held. I know how to conduct myself on and off the field. I always tell this story. So the Chiefs locker room, you kind of go straight in and then towards a diagonal. It's kind of where all the cornerbacks stay. And there's that corner locker, which is it's always been sort of a team representative for the secondary. And going throughout time, it's been a Tyrann Mathieu type, an Eric Berry type, a Justin Reed type. The Chiefs signed Justin Reed a few years back to sort of play that mentor type role. And so when Justin Reed moved on last year, Trent McDuffie got that corner locker. And so I think that's just sort of what you anticipate with him. I mean, Trent was always available in the locker room to talk. Win or lose, he's available to talk in the locker room and speak, for teammates, whether, there's younger guys that maybe aren't comfortable doing that sort of thing, or whether he just needs to, bite the bullet and say, hey, weren't good enough this week. Just need to tell the fans that sort of thing. So he has his own leadership style, but yes, if you are trading that much for Trent McDuffie, he's going to be a leader in the locker room, and he should be. And again, that's not only based off what he does on the field and his study habits, but how he conducts himself off the field, because the Rams are just getting an A-plus guy. I mean, they just are. And so I know that I said it earlier, but that's what makes the trade, I think, easier from the Rams standpoint, is that you don't have to sit there and wonder, why are the Chiefs trading this guy? What do they know about him that we don't know? They're trading him because they don't have $30 million in the salary cap to pay this guy every single year. And it seemed like the Rams will benefit more from him because they need that guy in the locker room. They need that voice. They need that leadership. And so I would expect McDuffie to provide that, maybe not giving the pregame speeches, but he'll definitely be a mentor in that secondary and tell guys where they need to be and what they need to do. And the team would be better for that.
Yeah, on the other side, Watson, what's his kind of personality profile, and what does he bring into the locker room from a leadership perspective, and that kind of an idea?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Watson's more quiet, willing talker in the locker room. I wrote an article about him right before free agency opened to just ask him if he'd be interested in going back to Kansas City, the Chiefs. I remember talking to him for 3 or 4 minutes. Available in that sort of way. You won't hear him as much, I don't think, in interviews and reports and things like that. He's more of a guy that lets the action speak for itself, that sort of guy. But again, I think well respected. And the thing about both those guys I do want to mention as well, you talked about the Steve Spagnuolo defense and how guys fit with his system. The one thing they've had here that has been really impressive the last 3 or 4 years, which I think has set the standard, is those secondary guys are not afraid to tackle. They are not afraid to come downhill. They're not afraid to hit. And I think you can lose your culture a little bit if those guys on the back end pull away from contact a little bit. They aren't quite bought into what you want to do. And I can say unequivocally, Trent McDuffie, Jaylen Watson, they will stick their nose in. They will tackle. They will be a part of the run game. They will break blocks out there. They will charge after guys on screen passes and get tackles for losses that you don't expect. So I think all those things are very positive things to enter your locker room. I wouldn't expect Watson to be a huge talker there in LA unless things change a little bit. But like I said, I think McDuffie is the one you trade for to potentially be that sort of voice of the program. But Jaylen's a willing talker when you need him, but has more let his actions speak for his words. Both these guys are, fascinating stories, though. I know you guys have probably read about McDuffie and his brother and how close he was to him and wearing his number, that sort of thing. And then, I mean, Watson has the craziest of stories, too. I don't know if you guys have read about it, but he was between schools in college and at home for a summer in Georgia and needed a job and went to work for his mom at Wendy's in Georgia. So this is a guy that has worked his way, from the bottom, from the fast food industry all the way up to the NFL. So both fascinating stories in their own right. And like I said, both good guys in the locker room, but I think you'll expect more from Trent McDuffie, and that's probably the way the Rams anticipated as well.
Just over the last few years, I would say probably after the 2022 season, the Rams made such an effort to, go after specific culture types. And it sounds like these guys are going to fit in, just banshees out there on the field and good positive influences off the field as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think that that pretty much does it for all the questions I had. Is there anything burning you want to add about either one of these guys before we get out of here?
Let's see. No, I don't think so. So, I mean, obviously, Jaylen's a fun follow on Instagram if you haven't yet. It's hard to find him because his name is Paper Cups, but every once in a while, he'll post some very interesting stuff on there if Rams fans want to follow along on there. But I sort of feel a personal connection to these guys because I started covering the NFL in 22, and that was those guys' rookie year. So it's sort of like I feel like my rookie year was their rookie year. But like I said, I just think Rams fans should take some confidence into this, just that this isn't the Chiefs pulling one over on the Rams. I mean, the Chiefs know exactly how valuable Trent McDuffie is and what he's done for them. And like I said, they know the value of Jaylen Watson, set it and forget it on the outside and being an outside corner. But with McDuffie in particular, they love him. They wanted to sign him. They tried to get him signed for a while, but the math was never going to work out when they signed all these other dudes. So I think the Rams are getting a good one, and we'll see if he can put him over the top. I know he was a big part of the Chiefs Super Bowl wins a couple years, and potentially going to be a new piece for the Rams here coming up if they're able to get over that hump and get themselves to a Super Bowl here in the near future.
Yeah, well, your colleague over there at the Athletic, Jordan Rodriguez, says the Rams can't draft cornerbacks, which is pretty much proving to be true. She obviously used to cover the team, knows a lot about that. So, stealing a page out of probably the best team to do it over the last several years. There's probably there's worse ways to go about it, and this is a potential Super Bowl matchup here. Chiefs Rams would be a fascinating one. Chiefs are currently in fourth place, plus 800 to win the NFC Championship game. Rams are your favorites, plus 390 over there on FanDuel Sportsbook. Rams LFB brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Let's get out of here. Thank you guys so much. Thanks again to Jesse Newell of The Athletic. Go check out his work. Really great piece over there that he did in conjunction with Nate Atkins, where he highlights some of these anecdotes already. Appreciate you guys. Until next time, go check out a piece we just got up with First and Tuna there, covering the big contract negotiations that are happening. Puka Nacua being the big one, obviously, with JSN coming down with the top wide receiver contract of all time currently. Won't stand very long, I imagine. Anyhow, we'll see you soon.